Okay, now let us see what factors influence the climate of a place. There are four factors which influences on the climate of a place. They are: number one is the latitude, number two is the land and water relationship, number three is relief structure, and upper air circulation. So these four factors influence of on it, the climate of a place. How they influence on the climate of a place? Let us see one by one. Now, first, how the latitude influences on the climate of a place. You see, Earth is the globe is a model of Earth. You know that. So on the globe, we have that latitudes are there, longitudes are there. So latitudes are the lines which run from east to west in the parallel manner. They are called latitudes. The lines which run from the north to south, they are called the longitudes. So what are the useful of these latitudes and longitudes? You know that latitudes are useful for the location of a place. Now you have to post your comment, what is the use or what are the use of these longitudes in comment box. Please post them. So now let us see how the latitude impacts of a climate of a place. You see, this is the 0 degree latitude. You know that. So this is called equatorial region. Equatorial region. So you see, when these sun rays are the it is falling directly on this equatorial region. So because of the sun rays are they are falling straightly on this, and the area is small area, and the thickness, the rays are in thicker and the shorter place, the lesser area, thicker rays. Because of that reason, this area, equator region, this area, this is some high temperatures. If you move away from the equator, what happens is, you see, so if you are moving from this equatorial to the polar region, so the slant of rays are taking place. You see, the sun rays are flying flat, their sun rays are they are they are falling in the slanty way. So because of these differences, you see the area different, the how this area getting maximum temperature because of the sun rays are falling straightly, and the thicker of the rays and the shorter area, it is focusing on the shorter area. Because of that, this area gets the maximum temperature. So as you move away from this equatorial to the, so if you move away from this equatorial, temperature decreases. If you move away from the equator to the north of the south pole, temperature decreases. If you move away from the equator to south of the equator, also temperature decreases. As you know that because of the sun rays, because the energy, how you are getting, our earth is receiving energy from in the form of insolation. What is insolation? Insolation. So incoming solar radiation. So incoming solar radiation, they are called insolation. So because of the insolation, the temperature, earth is receiving the temperature from the solar energy. So that is the reason, you see, you can compare the different type of climatic conditions. How you see the Japan climate is different, Singapore climate is different, Malaysia climate is different. You see, almost this Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, they are near to the equator. But if you move away from the equator, if you go to Russia or Poland or Finland or many other European countries, many other countries, as you move away from the equator, what happens is because of the insolation, incoming solar radiation reducing, the temperature decreases as you move away from the north of the equator, south of the equator, the temperature decreases. That is the reason in the equatorial region, if you see African people and many other people, their color of their skin is different. If you move away from the equator, because of the less temperature, their color of the skin is different. These people food habits are different. These people food habits are different. Their clothing style, their clothing styles, everything is different because of the latitude decides what food you have to eat, what dresses you have to wear. So what should be your lifestyle? So your agriculture or any the livelihood options, everything is majorly divided with these climate conditions of a place. The climate is affected with the latitude of a place. So you see, this is the reason. So if you move away from, and one more thing here is that there are three reasons are there. Earth, we can divide three reasons. Number one is this is that you know that equatorial region, this is a tropic of Cancer, this is a tropic of Capricorn, this is a polar region, you know, Arctic Circle, Antarctic Circle also. So majorly the earth has been divided in the major three parts. Number one is this is the tropical zone. What is the tropical zone? This is a tropic of Cancer, tropic of Capricorn. The area between these two tropics, they are called the tropical zone. Area between these two tropics, it is called the tropical zone. So if we go away from this tropical water, this is the polar region. So this 90 degrees north and 90 degrees south, they are pole. So this is the polar region. This is the polar region. So this is the tropical zone or polar region, the tropical zone, polar region. So in between these two extremes, this is the tropical zone, this is the polar zone. In between these, the area, this is called the temperate zone. This is called the temperate zone. So tropical zone, temperate zone, polar zone. So this, based on these latitudes, affects the climate. If you come back to India, so how these latitudes impacts of a place. So for example, if you see in India, so almost tropic of Cancer, 20 degree north latitude, it is almost dividing India into two parts, north of the tropic of Cancer, south of the tropic of Cancer. If you see this south of the tropic of Cancer, it is lying in the tropical zone because of the it is between the tropic of Cancer and tropic of Capricorn. It is a tropical zone. So above this tropic of Cancer, it is called temperate zone. It is called the temperate zone. So that is the reason you see the temperature of Kanyakumari is different, and the temperature of this Bhopal and Delhi, their climatic conditions are different. So how the latitude impact? Latitude impact is, so it impacts on the climate and temperature, rainfall, everything. So this is the how the latitudes impacts of a place. You see, and one more thing is that the regions, the South India, almost all South Indian states, almost not all, almost South Indian states are, so it is in the tropical zone. So almost north part of India, it is in temperate zone. Because of these variations, the temperature, rainfall, food habits, culture, traditions, growing vegetables, fruits, their livelihood options, somewhat different from this temperate zone to the tropical zone. So the latitudes impacts on a climate of a place. You have to understand. Now next, how the land-water relationship affects on the climate of a place. Now let us see how the land-water relationship. You know that so land-water relationship. You see, the on the earth you have the land and water. Two parts are there. So if you see the land, the nature of the land, heating and cooling is different. Nature of the water, heating and cooling is nature of different. Because of this differences in the nature of the heating and cooling, it is affecting on a climate of a place. How it impacts, let us see. So for example, land mass, this is the land mass, this is the water body, this is the, you know, that Bay of Bengal, this is the water body. So this is the land mass. You see, the land gets heated quickly, loses its heat quickly. But whereas the water body, it gets heated very slowly, loses its heat very slowly. This nature of the heating and cooling difference, making the difference in the atmospheric condition. So the difference in the climate place. Now you see how, because the land gets, you know, that how the land is getting heated. So not because of the, you see, the earth, you know, that from the millions of years our earth has been receiving solar energy from the sun. So you have to get one doubt here. If some millions of years of this solar energy, actually our land should have blasted like anything. Why it is not getting blasted? Because whatever the temperature it is receiving from morning to evening in the form of solar energy, again during the night the land mass is again giving out in the form of terrestrial radiation to the atmosphere. Because of this, in the daytime it is receiving temperature from the sun, and during the night time it is again giving back to the atmosphere. That is the reason that if we are not much heat or hot conditions or not much cool conditions, if you because of this atmosphere, because of the nature of the land. So actually this is making difference. So what happens, the nature is that why here land is getting heated quickly, point is that land is getting heated quickly, losing its heat quickly. That is the reason why when it becomes 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, generally what happens, whatever the season, we cover the bed on our body, we spread the bed on our body, because whatever it has received the solar energy from morning to evening is slowly after the sunset, what happens, slowly it is giving out. So finally 10 o'clock, 11, 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, almost it will be nothing to give in the heat is nothing, there is no heat to give out. That is the reason early morning in the winter season many, so what happens, the dews, small water drops, you can observe on the water plants, because there is a less temperature. So again when sun comes, when the sun sets, again temperature increases. So it means the land is getting heated by the solar energy, and again it is losing heat by the form of, in the form of terrestrial radiation. So earth is the land as giving out energy, whatever it has taken from morning to evening, again it gave back to the atmosphere. That is the reason. So that nature is different. You see, another point is that here, if you come back, if you see the ocean body, water body is that it is also receiving heat, the sun rays, solar energy from the sun, it is also getting heated, but nature is different. How the nature is different? Nature of the water is different because of the larger volume of the water. The water getting heated, it moves depth and depth. When the depth and depth, it circulates in the depth, and because of the large volume, so it gets heated very slowly compared to the land. And in the same way, water is also losing its heat, but it is heating its heat very slowly comparatively the land mass. This nature is making lot of differences. Because of the differences, climate of a place varies. So it means the climate near to the ocean body is different, climate far away from the ocean body is different. That is the reason Delhi climate is different from that of Chennai. So Chennai is near to the this ocean water body. But in case of Delhi, it is far away from the water body, oceanic influence. That is making much difference in the. You might have seen in that. Especially in the winter session. So when our parliament session runs, what happens? Delhi, our parliamentarians, they cover shawls on their body. They wear sweaters. So Delhi, it means Delhi is receiving much colder conditions, much cold conditions in the winter, much hot conditions in the summer. In the summer, it is very too hot to stay in Delhi. But comparatively, Chennai is not that much too hot. So in the winter, it is not that much cool here in the Chennai, and but in case of Delhi, it means in the case of Delhi during the summer it is too hot, during the winter it is too cool. Because now let us see why this happens. But first now let us see the land and water mass. If you see, because of the land is getting heated quickly, losing its heat quickly, the water body is getting heated slowly, and it is losing its heat slowly. This nature is making lot of differences. Not only that, on the land again, land and water body, again on the land there are some variations in the different. If you are, it is a vegetation area or the darker areas, it is much heat from the, it absorbs heat from the solar energy, sun rays. So forests and the dark soils, they absorb the temperature much than the other places. So in the same way, if you move away from this, if you go to the Himalayan region, because of the snowfall area, snow area, icy area, these are the snow, icy area, they are lighter areas, they reflect back the temperature. So here, on the land mass, the darker area, vegetating area, these are receiving, absorbing heat much, and compared to the lighter areas like snow and ice, they reflect back the temperature. So this is a difference. And also you see here, the very important point here, you have to understand that during the daytime what happens, during the night time what happens, how the cool breezes move from the land to water, water to land. the climate is affecting because of this movement of winds or the cool sea breezes. Cool breezes. How? You see, you know that during the daytime, what happens? The winds move from the sea to land. During the daytimes, winds move from the sea to land. Why the winds are moving from sea to the land mass? Water body to land mass? Why there is movement of winds or the breezes, cool breezes? Here you have to understand one point is that you know that land mass, because of the daytime, so it gets heated quickly. So when almost solar energy reaching the water, the land mass, water body, they are reaching the temperature. But you see here what happens is that on the land mass, because of the solar energy, sun rays, the it gets heated. And not only that, the atmosphere also get heated. When the atmosphere get heated, what happens? Because of the atmosphere getting heated, the humidity reduces. What happens? Humidity reduces, or the what do you call it, the humidity. When the temperature increases, humidity reduces. Why? Because of the temperature. So the whatever that when temperature increases, the moisture content, nothing, humidity is nothing but moisture content. That's what I am waiting for, moisture. So when the temperature increases, moisture content in the atmosphere reduces. That means the humidity reduces. When the humidity reduces in this, what happens? When the moisture content is less, the weight is less. When the weight of atmosphere, weight of gases or weight of atmosphere, when the weight is less, it means less pressure. Weight means less pressure. So when the less pressure is there, what happens? The because of the less temperature and the less weight, what happens? Light, it becomes a less weight. The air starts moving upwards. Vertical air currents, or the air is moving upwards. So when the air moves upwards, what happens? Here low pressure takes place. Here it means on the land mass, because of the solar energy, what happens? Because of the temperature, humidity reduces. You know that when in the summer region, summertime, we dry our clothes for this sun, in the solar energy, in the sun rays, because our moisture content, it receives sun rays, because of the heat, moisture content reduces. In the same way, it means when the sun, because of the sun rays, the temperature, as temperature increases, the moisture content is less. When the moisture content is less, low humidity, that is called humidity. So because of that low humidity, less weight. When there is a less weight, air starts moving upwards. When air is in less weight, it starts moving upwards, vertical air currents. When it moves vertical air currents, what happens? Low pressure takes place. When this low pressure area attracts the winds from the high pressure area. So at the same time, during the daytime, the on the ocean body or water body, what happens? High pressure takes place. On the land mass, low pressure. These winds from high pressure to low pressure, they blow. It means that during the daytime, we are getting the cool breezes or the winds from the sea to land. So why there is a high pressure on the ocean body, water body? Now next question is, here low pressure developed. Why there is a high pressure on the water body? The reason is that when the solar energy, the water body is receiving solar energy from the sun, and because of that, water gets evaporated. When the water gets evaporated, moisture content increases, humidity increases. When the humidity increases, pressure increases. When the pressure increases, what happens? So high pressure takes place. When the high pressure takes place, means you know that the always pressure moves from high pressure to low pressure area. You know that you see the water. This is the water is there. So water is moving from upper region to the downer region. See the upper area to lower area. It is not possible to go from the lower area to upper area. So in the same way, the winds also, they are moving from high pressure area to low pressure. So this is the reason. So because of this, you see high pressure, this is the water is moving from upper region to lower region. The pressure also moves from the high pressure to the low pressure. So next, during night time, what happens during night time? The scene will get reversed. How the scene get reversed? You see, during the night time, because of whatever the solar energy received by the sun, the land mass, it slowly loses its heat. By the night time, what happens? It gets cooled. But comparatively, at the same time, the temperature comparative lie on the ocean body. So what happens when the coolness takes place on this earth or the landmass, sorry, on the landmass. So when there is a cool the it means because of less temperature, what happens here, because here the high pressure, it means what happens, humidity increases, moisture increases, there is no temperature, that is the reason whatever you got already atmosphere getting cooled and there is nothing to give out, already land almost is giving out slowly. So because of that, what happens, the atmosphere getting slowly getting cooled. When they getting cooled, what happens, the moisture or humidity increases. When the humidity, it means water droplets takes place, the high pressure takes place. When there is a high pressure takes place on the water, this land mass, at the same time let us observe what happens on the ocean body. If you observe on the ocean body, what happens that during the night time, so because of the water body is losing its heat very slowly because of the larger volume and the depth, because of that, what happens, slowly comparatively there is a, the temperature is high on the water body. When the temperature is high, the water gets evaporated. So when so yes, when the temperature is high, what happens? So when the temperature comparatively high, so the with the because of the temperature, what happens? The humidity decreases, moisture content decreases, weight decreases. Because of that weight decreases, low pressure takes place. When the low pressure takes place, this area attracts the winds from the high pressure to low pressure area. So it means during the night time, the land water body getting pressures these winds from the land mass to this ocean body. Here you have to try to understand clearly. Simple thing. Number one point, during the daytime, so the cool breezes comes from the sea to land. Clear. Next, during the night time, the breezes, cool breezes, move from land to sea because of the nature is different. Nature of the cooling and heating of nature is different of the land mass and water body. It is making lot of difference. So if you understand this concept, you can understand this thing. And also you see, sometimes you can understand in by example. I give one more example. So for example, in the summer region, so in the summer, what happens, if you switch on a borewell, you get cool water. So in the same way, if you switch on a bore in the night and the winter season, what happens, you get hot water. Not only that, if you do during the summer time, if you walk near the water area or the on the tank bund, you receive some cool breezes from the this water body. It means hot climate is outside, but if you walk near the water body, you are getting cool breezes. If you see, you walk nearby the rocky area or the hill, completely rocky surface area, covered with the boulders, big boulders. So what happens? You somewhat heat waves you receive from them. So here you have to understand is that land and water, there is a heating and cooling nature is different. So that is making, because of this, what happens, the breezes, the cool breezes or the winds, they are moving from the land mass to sea to land mass because of the low pressure, high pressure. When low pressure, always low pressure attracts the winds from the high pressure. So that is a thing you have to understand. And one more thing is that if you observe the South India, what happens, as it is near to the sea, ocean body, so it is near to ocean body because of the equable climate. They are called equable climate. It means during the summer, not that much heat they feel, they receive, and also now in the winter they don't feel much colder situation compared to the Delhi or northern India. If you see, simple, let us say Delhi. So during the Delhi, during the summer, it is much heat because of the, it is far away from the oceanic influence. During the winter, it receives much colder conditions because it is far away from the ocean body. In the same way, if you observe Chennai, so Chennai is nearest to the ocean body. Because of that, in the summer, it doesn't receive much heat because the cool breezes come from the ocean body. In the winter, it doesn't feel much colder conditions because of the hot, these breezes comes from the land water body. So this is the land and water relationship, the movement of the winds affecting on the climate of a place.